we're back in our regular meeting, and I'd like to suggest that since Selectman Anastasio wasn't feeling well and left to go home, that we table this issue because he was a big part of this discussion, and we'll table it for next time. I'll withdraw the motion.
That's
Okay.
a great idea.
But it might be interesting to find out
We will get-
its point.
Yeah,
that
Yep.
it's sort of
We will get
a-
answers to those questions in the
Yep.
meantime. I think
Certainly.
that's definitely. The next item is a request to approve the resolution of endorsement for the South Central Regional Council of Governments State Regional Performance Incentive Program grants. There are two resolutions, the resolution of endorsement is for two programs, the Regional Planimetric Data Development and Regional Open Space Inventory. I'll read the resolution of endorsement and then we can discuss it. The Woodbridge Board of Selectmen hereby endorses the South Central Regional Council of Governments Regional Performance Incentive Program proposals listed below, referenced in Connecticut General Statutes, Section 4-124, small s, 2014 supplement. Such proposals are attached to and made a part of this record. Regional Planimetric Data Development and Regional Open Space Inventory. The planimetric data development is to expand the GIS data services offered at the regional level. And it would enable municipalities to coordinate and collaborate on projects that cross municipal boundaries with greater efficiency. And the second part of this is to have a regional open space inventory so that we have common definitions of open space and we see the open space in the various towns. So they appear to be two very worthwhile programs of the Council of Governments. So is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
We don't know, we're not spending any money on this, the town is not expending money on it.
No, just,
No.
we are a member of the COG,
Of the
so we
COG,
get that
yeah.
as with the COG.
Okay, great, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, okay, anything else?
No, I
If
think
not,
those are both very worthwhile.
good. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. The next item is Country Club of Woodbridge update. And the first item is with respect to the pool. You know, we've been talking about this for a while, and I did feel some time pressure to talk about the pool ahead of the general budget discussions, because as we've talked about before, pool rates need to be set and advertising needs to begin. Tony has some updated data that I think it's important for everyone to have as we consider this. At the same time, I did have a conversation with Bob Hill today because the Recreation Commission has not made a recommendation to us yet about what they think we should do.
Right.
And we agreed that it would probably be better for the Board of Selectmen to wait to hear from the Recreation Commission, and it will be taken up at their January meeting. It's on the 25th, I believe, Monday the 25th. But in the meantime, I think it would be very helpful for
Sure.
Tony to give out the data that we have, so we've got that now, and then we'll hear from Recreation.
Okay. Yep. So what I put together was the financials for the 2014 and 2015 season. Because we're organized on a fiscal year basis, I had to split the years in half and combine them into each season so that you can see the results of each season. Also, some membership information that Anthony Taddy was very helpful with, and I've reviewed all this information with Anthony so that we were all on the same page. The first, as you can see, the 2014 season, excuse me, was the first season, and there was $113,000 in revenues, and the pool budget had $112,385. So as you can see, the pool budget and the revenues were pretty even. The other direct costs there are the benefit costs, which I put for so you can see how much the benefit costs are for the labor involved. That's about $5,400. So you can see those total expenditures. This gives you a slight deficit there. In that year, there were 60 resident members and 24 non-residents, which is 84 total. In the 2015 season, you can see that the absent the some repairs and maintenance, you can see that's a little higher, which is a few $1,000s higher, and the labor is higher in part because of some the stipend that was awarded and to the pool director, and other than that, there's expenditures for each year are pretty stable. Their revenues, however, have declined significantly to 88,000 from 113 the year before, so you can see that's a decline in members there to 62, which is 45 residents and 17 non-residents. I do want to talk a little bit, so you can see the difference in each year. I do want to talk a little bit about shared expenditures. There are some expenditures in here. It's not a perfect system where sometimes there are expenditures that are shared here that may impact the club and vice versa. So there are some shared expenditures here, like some of the cleaning, and which also benefits the clubhouse that the golfers use. Some of the maintenance that benefits the clubhouse. And vice versa. On the other side of that, however, there are some electricity and water charges, and the dumpster removal that's in the CCW budget. So there's a little bit of shared expenditures there because the dumpster is also used by the golf group. So it's not a perfect scenario, but you can sort of get an idea.
But it's within this expense already. It's already in this. It's already reflected in these expenses.
So the what's not in here are the utilities. It's difficult sort of to break out the water and the electricity and all that.
Okay.
Well, how do you split that to the big, what's the hot water for the showers? How much of that's golf?
Yeah.
What's the hot water? What's the water for the pool? It's somewhat difficult to,
It's a
we don't have
different
meters on all that
analysis,
stuff, so
yeah.
I didn't bother trying to estimate all that. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Gotcha.
Because you can see a general trend here, but I think it was Deke mentioned before about the fact that there's a lot of people don't really know what's going on.
How significant would those shared things be?
Probably the biggest one would be the water,
Oh,
and because of obviously the pool and filling up the pool when there's evaporation. That's probably the largest one.
okay.
I couldn't estimate without having to go through the calculations though.
Mhm. I know that being liaison to the Recreation Commission, they wanted to get early decision. However, I think when a decision like this, which I believe will impact the town, I think we need to have as much information as we can, including their input.
So that's what we'll be doing. We'll wait and
All right.
get their input.
I got it.
That's exactly what.
Mhm.
If there's any other information that I can help you with, or Anthony, I'm sure we'd be happy to get for you.
Any other questions for Tony? Okay, if not, thank you, Tony.
Their meeting is when?
The 25th.
Oh, okay, so our meeting's the next one.
Yeah. Okay, with some other updates on the country club. One is on, just to talk more about the zoning questions, which is really one of the most fundamental questions that keeps coming up with respect to the country club property, and I think rightly so. We want to know if there are any precedents in town for this. Jerry's going to give us an update on Oak Lane and what that means. And also, if we made changes in the zoning at the country club, how secure would we be that that property couldn't be sold or flipped and then changed to some different zoning? And to what extent would a change of zoning at the country club be a precedent for other properties in town? So we'll start with Jerry on the Oak Lane situation.
I just did a little bit of research after our meeting, I guess it was in November. Maria, you mentioned that the possibility of selling the building for uses such as a catering hall or maybe a restaurant and retaining the rest of the property for open space for the town. I think that was one of the 3 proposals you put forward.
Right.
And I said at that time, I thought that there may be an issue, and there is an impediment to that, and that is the zoning regulations were changed in 2011 when Oak Lane went from a private club to a public club. And the way that they were able to sell liquor alcohol, liquor, or beer, was to have us look at the regulations and make a change, and they do have a catering hall, and they wanted to be able to continue to use their catering hall. And the
So it was
regulations,
previous use, there is
when the previous, they used it as a private club.
Mm.
Now, when they went to a public club, we had to look at this again, and we changed the definition of a golf club. And we said that you can have a catering hall in the Residence A zone, which is where Woodbridge Country Club is located, and which is where Oak Lane was located. And we were trying to accommodate Oak Lane to approve their request for a
proposal.
special permit. And the regulation now says that you can have a catering hall or a restaurant in the Class A zone so long as it is contiguous, so long as it consists of a golf club of 100 contiguous acres, and it's next to an ancillary road, but you cannot have a catering facility in a Residence A zone or a restaurant in a Residence A zone unless it is contiguous to a country club and golf course. So if one of your proposals was to just sell off the building for a catering facility, stop the golf, and just have the town own the rest of the land for open space, that would not be permissible at Woodbridge unless we change the regulation again. You know, and regulations can be changed all the time, but right now, our zoning regulations does not permit a catering hall in a Residence A zone.
Okay,
So I just wanted to have the board
Just to clarify where we are.
know
Well,
what.
it makes sense.
That what, yeah, right, we didn't wanna have a catering hall in other residential, the Planning and Zoning Commission didn't want the catering hall to be in residence other than at Oak Lane, residential A zones other than Oak Lane.
so is it a zoning change or is it a special permit within
No,
a zone?
the regulation has been changed to
Okay.
say, you'd have to change the regulation.
Okay,
But Oak Lane operates under a special permit, correct?
Oak Lane has a special permit and they operate under, they have a golf course, which is at least 100 acres,
Right.
and it is at a country club.
Gotcha.
I see.
In other words, it's not a precedent, because of Oak Lane, it can't automatically happen at Woodbridge
Right,
unless it's
right.
connected
We
to, yeah.
the Planning and Zoning Commission was specific in trying to make sure it was only allowed at the Oak Lane Country Club. And of course, it's allowed at the Woodbridge Country Club because it is a golf course with more than 100 acres, and it is a country club.
But ownership cannot be separated, in other words, you have to.
You cannot just operate the catering facility without a golf course.
Okay, I got it.
With respect to the other zoning issues, how tight we can draw the restrictions on the property itself and whether it would have an impact on other properties, we've retained an attorney at Cohen and Wolf who has done this work specifically in other towns. He does municipal work and zoning work, and he's going to give us an opinion on that and how best to protect the property if that's the route we take, and how secure we can be in taking such action. So I don't know exactly when we'll have the opinion, but as soon as we do, we'll be sure to distribute it.
Didn't we get an opinion already from Marjorie Shansky?
Yep, we have an opinion that it's not spot zoning. That was the question that had come up. But
Yeah.
she didn't explicitly address these questions, so we thought we'd go with another firm to get another opinion on a broader questions.
And as
So
I
we'll have
said,
further
this firm has done the exact same issues in other towns, specifically Ridgefield, and is very familiar with the zoning laws, and they're leading experts in zoning in Connecticut.
Okay.
So we wanted to make sure we got that.
So we can't call it spot zoning?
It is
It
not spot zoning.
It's not spot zoning?
That was Marjorie Shansky's opinion, it was
Yeah.
not spot zoning.
Yeah,
But this will be, I think, a more specific analysis of the questions that keep coming up, and as I said, I think rightfully so. We need to have this information as we consider next steps. The third thing I'd like to talk about this evening is a comparison of the net tax impact of two of the proposals we talked about last time. Joe, you asked us to look further into this, I think appropriately also, about what the impact would be on the town of having 51 single-family residences on the 1.5 acre zones as opposed to 69 active adult cluster homes. These were scenarios C and E on the charts we had been looking at. I don't know if you recall them that way. So with the proviso and understanding that this is not Tony's area of expertise, he has done his due diligence and I think done some good work for us.
I did.
And Tony will walk us through it and see if there are more questions.
Well, this also with the proviso, I mean, this isn't determinative of what we do, it's just
Right.
basic
Absolutely, this
information.
is just
That's all.
more factual information.
It's just-
I think it's really important for us to make an informed decision that we answer all reasonable questions that we can and
Right.
look into these
So
scenarios.
the way this is laid out is, there's a estimated revenues for each option and estimated expenditures for each option and the difference between the two. And you'll see both scenarios. I did outline the assumptions that were used, so I always like to outline assumptions in something like this so you can see where the figures are coming from. And so I wanted to take you through this. Some of the information, if you take the first page, option C, the purchase price and the number of units and the bedrooms per unit are all from the Toll Brothers proposal. So this is specific to the Toll Brothers proposal, but the population multipliers that are used are from the Milona-McBroom report. In order to understand where those came from, I did some research on that, and those are from the a Rutgers University report on public school multipliers. There's actually a report that was done by Rutgers, which did a town-by-town comparison of the approximate number of elementary and middle and high school students per dwelling, per unit, per type of dwelling. So for instance, in single-family residences, there's an elementary student multiplier of 0.57 students per dwelling unit.
What does that mean?
It means
I have
that
a child,
it just means that that's an average number of elementary students in Woodbridge per dwelling unit.
okay.
You
Some
have to
have
average it out
more,
over more than
some
one
have
to not
less,
have half a
some
child.
have, right, some have two, some have none.
It doesn't mean they make half the noise.
Sure.
Maybe I'm missing something. Elementary, on the option E, which is the active adult cluster, why is there any impact at all?
Because
from-
occasionally, there happens to be a situation when there might be somebody who's qualifies for the, to live in the unit or
Yeah.
what, but there's a situation where there might be a, elementary student or some sort of a cost for elementary school. He said, I asked about this particular question, he said
Yeah,
it's
'cause
very
I-
rare, but
right.
it happens on occasion.
Yeah, it's obviously quite .04,
0.04, right.
but there was a guess.
I guess it means it's not never.
I got it, okay, all
Maybe
right.
a
So then
grandchild.
again,
Yeah.
why,
Sometimes
Grandchild or some
temporary
sort of a
custodial
temporary issue
situation
where
or
you have a
guardianship.
custodian.
why isn't there
Right.
then,
Okay,
it has to
okay.
follow,
Right.
why is there no
So
middle
how
high
is it
school?
relevant now?
0.04
It's just theoretically mathematical.
on middle high school, just a little bit of an impact with them. I'm just asking why is that one 0? I guess that's probably from the report. and
It
I'll
is,
have to
it's-
go peek at it to see
Right, that's
further.
right,
Okay,
Correct.
just wondering.
right.
I was just looking at both of them.
So,
Okay.
and then there's the, some of the information I received, the Toll Brothers estimate on the average market value per dwelling unit for each. And then, the rest of that is from our budget, or from the assessor's office. And, so you'll see the, tax revenue and estimated expenditures for the single-family residence is a, deficit of 449. Again, that's just a round estimate. And then there's a slight $400,000 positive impact for option E. Another thing I assumed in this analysis was that all of the money from the purchase price goes to pay down the existing debt.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
You're also assuming that these are all new vehicles that come in and generate income as opposed to,
Well, actually,
existing or replacement, right?
What I took was the, right, and then the average vehicle, Betsy gave me the average vehicle price in Woodbridge, that's the 10,700.
I think, okay.
And then, so I assume they're all new vehicles to Woodbridge, as opposed to,
Which may or may not be the case, but right, it's too hard to figure that out.
yeah, I mean,
And
But I think the point is that they're the same assumptions
Right,
for
right.
both, because
Right.
we don't really know, and the idea was
So it's
just to
apples
see.
and apples.
Right.
correct,
Right.
right.
Uh-huh.
I think there might
So,
be
it's just some more information for you in your,
some going.
Any other questions for Tony?
no,
Okay, thank you, Tony.
That's good.
Okay.
That was very
Very
helpful.
helpful. Thank you.
okay,
it's hard to take this all in?
Well,
Yeah.
obviously,
you
if you
have
have
time to look
questions,
at
you
it.
can look
Yeah.
through it, bring it
Right,
up,
right.
if you have any other questions, you can call, or,
I'll call you,
yeah,
all right.
I can, you know.
Okay. We are now at item 13 on the agenda, and that is Tony's reports. Tony, monthly report.
Sure, the monthly report for the first 6 months of the fiscal year is a surplus of about $125,000 for the end of the year. That leaves our fund balance at about 9.38% of our annual projected expenditures for the year. One big change is that the state just, in addition to the $16,000 reduction in our pilot grants, the second round of cuts that were just released is a $42,000 reduction of our ECS funding. So we're gonna be, it's about $60,000 in state reductions this year. So that pretty much offsets the $69,000 that we received from FEMA, which leaves a, so it's about an even, there's no longer a surplus in the intergovernmental revenues. So that's the first piece of information. We do have a surplus in insurance because of our, we went out to bid for insurance, and it was much less than we had anticipated. So we have a surplus there. We've talked about the surplus in parks, the vacant position for the portion of the year. It's about $10,000. Debt service has a surplus of $12,000 because of refunding. This analysis does assume that there's no pool activity here. So that would at the country club. Therefore, you could see the difference of a deficit of $81,000 in revenues with $33,000 surplus in expenditures. Those won't match up to the sheet I gave you because this is on a
No.
fiscal year as
Yeah.
opposed to on a
Season.
seasonal year. But we would be much more, should the pool go forward, we will be much more cognizant of the revenue situation this year than we were last year. And reflect that in the budget.
If the pool doesn't go, since
And the other, one other thing I want to mention is, you also have to decide, because the pool's half a year in the fiscal year, so next year in the budget, only one half of the year, then it's the following year for the second half of the year.
You're right.
You follow, so the fiscal year will have two.
No matter what we end up doing.
So we have to
just
decide,
keeps-
A, do you go forward with the pool, and B,
Right,
do we just do it for the summer, which is half the budget year, or
right.
the whole year? Same thing with the country
It's
club.
complicated.
Oh, same thing with the club. How do you, you know what I mean?
Because there's a seasonal thing.
Because the golf is a similar situation where it's
It earns at certain times.
it stops in December.
Yeah.
Then you have,
Not this December.
what's that?
It's the
She
people
means
who are
the
out there
weather.
still golfing.
No,
Yeah.
well, this December, because it's
I know,
January.
I know. yeah.
Gosh, it started January 23rd last year,
So, those are some questions you have
the
to,
snow, I mean.
Can I ask you a question, because I don't think I'm clear?
Sure.
And I think it ties in here. If we were to say we're not proceeding with the pool this year,
Mhm.
does that have any impact to the golf operation of Billy Casper Golf in terms of use of
Glad you
the
asked that
building, use
question.
of lockers, or in any way? Because if it
So-
does, I think we need to hear from
I
them
asked,
as we end.
I asked Billy Casper Golf and Ryan in particular, and he'd be happy to come to a future meeting, because couldn't make this meeting, but he said he'd be happy to come to a future meeting. He said that, and I wrote down exactly what he said so I can relate that to you. If the pool closes, Billy Casper Golf feels that there will be a negligible or very little impact to the golf operations.
Really?
Okay.
He also said that if the pool closes, Billy Casper Golf will take over cleaning and the supplies related to cleaning the locker room in the clubhouse at no
So
cost to the
that
town.
would remain open and accessible to them.
To the golfers, and Billy Casper will take over cleaning and the supplies for cleaning just the locker room.
Mhm.
So, that's,
And there will be no extra charge from them, right? We don't have to increase their fees
Not
No.
for
no,
that, they would do that.
not for
at
that,
no
they'll
cost.
do that.
at their own cost.
We're
Yeah.
still under the same contract right now.
Yeah.
When does that renew?
The end of
At
this
the
year.
end of December is
2016.
when the contract expires, that's why the next budget year is half a,
Okay.
right.
Okay, anything else for Tony on that? All right, we're at funding requests.
Yeah, I just want, one other comment, the, Board of Education, last deficit reported was 186,000. That was, in December, was reported through November, largely due to special ed, which I think is like above 300,000, but they had some surpluses in other areas. So given, that there's a $186,000 deficit at the school, we did receive Amity surplus funds of $318,000.
318,000?
Yes.
Okay, wow.
So now historically, we've used those funds to offset taxes in the following year. But in this particular case, that's an opportunity to use those funds to
To
offset
this.
the school. And still have some left over for the following budget year. That's why I mentioned that.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Thank you. Okay, we have a few funding requests. I will move line item transfer number 1516-08 in the amount of $2,010 to transfer funds from the department revenue to the town plan and zoning engineering account. Do you want to speak to that?
Certainly. These are funds that the department collects for plan reviews and application reviews, and it's part of our budget process to authorize the use of those funds for expenditures related to that review, which is the payment of consultants. It's sort of a keeping track, in one hand, not the other. But they need authority to actually spend it, because it's not in their appropriation to spend.
Do you need a second?
So,
to the
yes, I need a
motion?
second.
I'll make that second.
Thank you. Any questions, discussion?
Aye.
If not, all those in favor? Aye. Susan, you're an aye?
No, I said aye.
Okay, thank you. The next, I will move line item transfer number 1516-07 in the amount of $15,000 for additional tree work as part of the town's tree maintenance program.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Tony?
Warren has made a judgment here that he has more tree maintenance to do this year than road maintenance in terms of not road paving, but just maintaining roads, potholes, that sort of thing, because of his a large number of trees that he has to remove. And so he wants to remove 15,000 from road maintenance to tree removal.
Any other questions? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And while we're on the issue of trees, we've been talking to Warren, there's been a lot of tree trimming going on, and I've asked him for regular updates on what's been happening, because some of it is town trees, some of it is the UI program. And unfortunately, what Warren has discovered is that there's work going on about which he had not been notified, although he should have been. So he is on that now to make sure proper
Work by
notification
who?
happens.
By the property owner or
No,
UI?
by UI.
Oh,
by UI.
wow,
They're subcontractors, so he's working on that.
that's bad.
Okay, Tony, you wanna talk about the wayfinding signs?
Sure. We had received a steep grant back in a few years back, maybe 2010 or 11, to put sidewalks in at the Lucy Street and up Litchfield Turnpike. Those were completed. We're just doing some punch list items, and there's some funds left in that grant, which amounts to, it depends on where the punch list comes out, but maybe approximately $30,000. And the purpose in the grant was for a signage program in that area. A unified, it was called a unified signage program, or a wayfinding signage program, to put signs down there to help better orient people when they come off the highway. This is Woodbridge, what you can find in Woodbridge, where to go, and that sort of thing. And that was the input at the time.
And the Economic Development Commission is also very interested in this and working on it, so we're working with them to use the funds. That's just an update on the use of the funds. Any
Right.
questions for Tony, or anything about that?
No.
So you sent us pictures of some signs, right? And is that part of these?
These were examples,
Just
actually, that
ideas.
came from the Betsy, these came from EDC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They look great.
Yeah.
Okay, Betsy?
I have a quick update on communications as part of our effort to continually improve communications in the town. we went out to RFP for a redesigned website, and there was a lot of interest. We got more than 15 proposals. We've narrowed it down to 2 companies, and the great news is that both options seem like they will be cheaper than our current service and more user-friendly. So when I have more information, I will update you on that, but right now we're anticipating a launch in early summer, or midsummer, probably July 1.
Thank you. Okay. Item 15 is Town Council's report, and at this time, we will have a discussion of pending litigation, and I will entertain a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 1-200, paren 6, paren capital B, to discuss the pending litigation, and it is with respect to the Gale Group and the Charlemax LLC.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
Who's invited in? Do we have to specifically?
We want
Uh,
Betsy in.
Yes, we will
Obviously
invite Town
Jerry.
Council and Betsy Quist. Anyways, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed?
I did.
Anyone opposed?
I think I did.
Yeah, okay. We have now concluded the executive session. No votes were taken during that time. We had a description and discussion of a potential settlement of pending litigation on the real estate tax appeals, and our town attorney is going to describe the settlement, and then we will take a vote on whether or not to approve it.
So I can give you language for the motion, and then somebody can just
Okay.
do the motion. So I would ask that the board consider the following, that the town settle a pending appeal that was filed by a company called Charlemax LLC versus the town of Woodbridge concerning property at 12 Luna Drive in Woodbridge, with a docket number of NNH-CV 15-605553-S in the amount of a fair market value of $750,000. And in consideration of that settlement, the plaintiff in that case, another tax appeal that was filed by a company called Gale Group in docket number NNH-CV 14-6047586-S, will withdraw its appeal against the town of Woodbridge for a prior tax year. So one case will be withdrawn, and the second case will be settled for a fair market value of $750,000.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
I just might
Thank you,
want to
Betsy.
add that the town has now, just to give you a summary, one commercial property appeal case, which was pending for about a year, year and a half, was just withdrawn, and that is the assisted living facility on Bradley Road. They withdrew, we were going through discovery, it was getting ready for trial, and we just found out, they just advised us that they were withdrawing the appeal, which in effect means they're taking our assessor's value. We have this appeal, and we have, this should finish all the commercial appeals. This is the last commercial appeal. We have 3 residential appeals that are still pending. But that is all the town has, and then in my experience, based on what's happening in other towns and seeing what the dockets are, it's pretty remarkable, and it's a testament, I think, to Betsy's accuracy in her assessment and her job, the job that she does.
Good job, Betsy. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
We're now at item 17, and I will move acknowledgement of the town clerk's report. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Minutes, we have the minutes of the October 14, 2015 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
Couple little typo jobs.
Typos, you
I'll
can
send
just-
them over,
okay.
Jerry, nothing.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks. Number 19 on the agenda is the resignation of Rita Gdansky from the Amity Board of Education. And it is certainly with regret and gratitude that we acknowledge this resignation. Rita Gdansky served on the Amity Board of Education for 14 years, and she was a teacher at the Amity Middle School. She reminds us it was called junior high school at the time. For 16 years, she was a social studies teacher. She was an avid supporter of Amity athletics and big contributor to the town of Woodbridge, both as a teacher and as a volunteer, so we thank her very much for that. Seeing that there's now an appointment on the Amity Regional Board, there's a vacancy and an appointment. This has to be a Democratic appointment because Rita was a Democrat and it's a Democratic vacancy. Is there a nomination for this position, Beth?
I have a nomination. I'd like to nominate Robin Burke. Do they have their resumes or?
Yes.
Jerry is
Jerry's,
sent.
okay, great, all righty. I've known Robin since before her now senior at Amity High School, Logan, was born, a long time. As you can see from her CV, she has a JD from Hofstra University School of Law. She's been a past attorney in a law firm in New Haven and is currently working in private practice, handling clients in state courts and personal injury and probate. She lived in Woodbridge a very long time. Her extensive Woodbridge experience includes, there's a lot of them, but I'll just highlight 3 of them. She's been on the Board of Tax Appeals, Planning and Zoning, and also the Conservation Commission, which I think she's serving on or is going to resign or something.
If she is appointed to the Board of Ed, she'll
Then
resign
she
from
resigns, okay.
Conservation.
As I said, she has 3 children, Logan, who's a senior at Amity, and Lindsay and Dylan. I think he's still at Beecher,
Yes, he
my
is.
adorable little Dylan. And she's very active as a parent, and I would highly recommend her for the position of Amity Board of Education.
Can I second that nomination? I second that nomination.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion on any other nominations for this position?
I just have a comment. I ran into her at Stop and Shop today. And I said, oh, your oldest must be, what, 12 now? And she said, no, he's applying to college and he's waiting to hear from. But it does mean that she has 1 child in each school,
Right.
Oh, that's
which
interesting.
I
Yeah.
thought was sort of interesting. I hadn't realized that.
Anything else? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Lovely.
First Selectmen's report, I have a few updates. First, on the economic development side, I attended the CERC presentation in New Haven. That's the Connecticut Economic Resource Council that we had heard from here in Woodbridge. It was a similar report, but good to hear again about economic trends in the state and ideas for our community. With Betsy, I visited Janet Rosier's college consulting business, and it's very interesting what she does here in town. We learned a lot about it that we hadn't known, the complexities of the business. She does this out of her home here in Woodbridge. I've also met with the New Haven Transportation Director to discuss the Exit 59 improvements and a follow-up meeting with DOT to be sure they're on target for the expedited project that they had agreed to do. We think things are moving forward well. The governor had announced that the funding is in place, but we want to make sure we can move this along as quickly as possible. It's so important for all of our residents. I also attended the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce meet and greet to be a presence for Woodbridge in the greater economic community. On the community building activities, we had Woodbridge Night at Long Wharf Theater. It was Measure for Measure. It was just a terrific play, a wonderful production, and the reception for Woodbridge residents was well attended and delightful for everyone who was there. And I hope that we'll be doing another program with them this year. They have a great play coming up in the spring, so Betsy's gonna see if we can do that. We can never do enough to appreciate our town employees and volunteers. They're so terrific, and there were many events. The town sponsored many of them around the holidays. We had the employee holiday luncheon, the board and commission holiday party, which I think everyone attended, and it was very well attended by our board and commission members. I was at the Beecher Road School holiday concert, which was amazing. They have several bands, and they have the orchestra, and they must have, I wouldn't be surprised if it was well over 100 children participating in the music program with one teacher who was incredible. The Woodbridge Volunteer Fire Department had their Meet Santa at the firehouse, which I attended. Of course, Mrs. Claus is our own Beth Heller. If you haven't seen her in her Mrs. Claus outfit, don't miss it next year. I attended the Friends of the Library holiday reception, as well as a Chief Marcucci's retirement reception, and that was a lovely event over at the firehouse. Chief Marcucci has been a part of the Woodbridge Police Department for 37 years, 10 of those years as chief, and we want to thank him again so much for his service to the town of Woodbridge. I know he was ready to retire and spend more time with his grandchildren, but we'll certainly miss him here in Woodbridge. Also, Rita Gdansky, who we just talked about, I acknowledged as Person of the Month for all of her service to the town of Woodbridge. I met with First Selectman Derry Gorski from Bethany and Sal Capolo, who's the finance director in Derby, to talk more about the animal control, to talk to them about the steep grant and be sure we get their support. And we're still talking about changing our agreement to change the proportion, and that's in the works.
Contributions of each town.
Yeah, of
Correct.
each town. We feel that Woodbridge is bearing
An awful lot.
an undue proportion, but we're talking about different ways to assess that, particularly with Derby. Chief Stewart had brought the state police here to town. We're looking at security updates. I think security is on everyone's mind. We're looking at town buildings and also looking at the Everbridge system, which is our reverse 911, to be sure it's up to date and something that we can use in case of an emergency. I hope that it's limited to weather emergencies, but it's a very good system, and Betsy has been working with Tony to see about using that system for internal communications when town employees need to be notified if the town is open or closed, and other uses like that. And we also had a meeting, Tony, Betsy, and I met with UI on the virtual net metering issue. And this has to do with the project we hope to do for solar on the Cap landfill. And we spoke with our state delegation about that today. There's a limit on the amount of power that can be generated with virtual net metering, and we're hoping that our state delegation will help to lift that cap so the program can go forward. That's most of it for the past month. And I would just switch over then to liaison report. On the Amity Board of Education, they elected officers. Bill Blake of Bethany was reelected as the chair. And Dr. Dumais reported also they are looking at initiatives to improve security and staff response in case of emergencies at the high school, which I think is appropriate and happening there. On January 11th, I missed the meeting, but I was going to report what Tony has already reported, and that they have approved the return of a little over $318,000 to the town, which will certainly be of help to us. So with that, we'll go to other liaison reports. Susan?
I'll just add something to your report. I attended the police commission meeting, and Ellen joined the beginning of the meeting where life-saving awards were awarded to two officers of our police department, as well as a citizen who, at some risk to their own lives, did quite an amazing thing. I guess it was last month or within the last 6 or 7 weeks with respect to a car accident. So Ellen was there providing that award. Mostly their meeting was devoted to executive session, so obviously I wasn't there. The one thing that's of interest for our purposes is that they have moved their budget process forward, and they have approved the budget submittal for the town. I also attended CUPOP. CUPOP is vigorously engaged in thinking through and processing guidelines for the Fitzgerald property, both with respect to the gardens and the benches. That work will continue at their next meeting, which is scheduled for February 8th. And economic development is meeting tomorrow.
Thank you. Beth?
Thanks. I went to the fire commission meeting on January 4th. It was a special meeting because they weren't able to meet in December. And their budget is about 58% right now used, so that's pretty good. They're a little concerned about data processing, but they'll keep us informed. The new engine 7, it should be here within a couple of weeks. It came, and then they had to send it out for some extra stuff, and it should be in operation in the next couple of weeks. Santa and Mrs. Claus had over about 500 people to attend, and the fire department collected toys for Yale New Haven Hospital, and they collected over 1,000 toys, and we delivered them to the Yale Toy Closet, which I think is amazing.
Is the closet big enough?
They would find closets, believe me. They kept having a box and just refilling it. It was amazing. April 9th of this year will be the Woodbridge Fire Safety Day in memory of Eva Block. They do that every year now. Interestingly, there's a house up on Peck Hill Road that's going to be demolished by a builder. So the fire department got permission from the current owner, because before he demolished it, to use it for training. So I guess they went up there the other night and
That's interesting.
poked holes, and they didn't light any fires, but they practiced. That would have been bad. but practice, poking holes in buildings and things like that before it's demolished. So, hey, neighborhood's helping people. Engine 9, the brakes, other repairs have been done. Apparently, the money, I don't know, we approved the money to spend for that out of contingency, and I
Right.
guess the Board of Finance said
Did not approve it.
did not approve
Right.
it. So,
Right.
so they're using their budget for that now, and then we'll see what happens.
Right.
Hopefully, maybe we'll see. They did approve also their proposed operating budget. We'll hear about that soon. And as of November 2015, there's been 315 incidents, which is, it was 306 in 2014. And I only made that meeting for about an hour, because then I had to run across the street to Human Services, so, same night. And they did review their proposed budget. We'll be hearing about that. Not a lot of increases. The security system, they're gonna add some money to that line item related to the police department suggestions. I guess they went over there. They have some issues with that. We also now have to pay for the drug and alcohol testing for senior center drivers. It used to be done by Greater New Haven?
Right,
Yeah,
Greater
so
New
that's,
Haven, yeah.
that's $600 to their budget. And you'll see in the budget, they're also asking for some custom-made Formica computer counters for the senior center lab. The commission is working to develop a senior center strategic plan, and I guess they met with Ellen at some point about that, and they were grateful that you're helping them with that, and more to follow. They also interestingly have received a total of over 70,000 grants and fundraising, which will be applied to next year's budget. So I think that's, they work very hard at
They do.
grants.
Yes, they
I
do.
think that's very impressive. December was a very busy month with baskets and toy distribution. Food donations are completely sorted and shelved. I guess they had quite a few. It's a good time at holiday time. Everybody gives food, so that's nice. And the only other thing that they discussed, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more about, is the planned installation of the bathroom downstairs for the senior center. I don't know if the project's on hold or what's going on, but anyway, they just discussed it, and they'll be coming to us, I guess, and asking about further information. And that's it.
And just to that last point, I've been talking to the commissioner of the Department of Housing, which is where the funds are, and there's a dispute with the vendor who handles our, is it Livable Cities?
Small
I say that every time.
You do.
Our Small Cities grant. And the money is there, and they're positive about the program, but until this dispute is worked out with the vendor, they're holding the money, and we've now gotten to the point where Jerry is involved in trying to help work this out. Joe, do you have anything?
Oh, well, the the Country Club of Woodbridge did not meet because their meeting fell close to the Christmas holidays, so. I did go to the Conservation Committee meeting, but I won't do justice because I ran out of the office without my binder and all my.
We've all been
Which
there.
was not
Failed.
good, but they did approve their budget. The gentleman who was here and gave us the presentation about tapping the sugar maples, I
Yeah.
forget his name, I apologize.
Sterling Adams.
Sterling
Adams,
Adams,
right.
Yeah.
it's on my notes. We sent him to Conservation and I think somewhere else, I can't remember. But anyway, he gave his presentation to
Oh.
Conservation, which was well received. They're working on elderly preserve open space plan, and they're putting together their trail walks for the upcoming season. So that's pretty much.
I think that was great without your notes.
Yeah.
Not bad, huh?
That was great,
They have to
thank
have
you.
a typed up thing right
Thank
In
from
my
the
age, no notes in my age.
Too bad. Okay, well, for my part, there was no real meeting with the Board of Ed since the last time they had a meeting, which was before our last meeting. I think it was also because of the holidays. But I attended a finance meeting the other night.
The
and
subcommittee,
The subcommittee
Yeah.
meeting, just because I'm curious. I mean, they are known for their zero-based budgeting, and I was, curious how they achieve these kinds of things. But they had approved the budget, and they're going to be presenting it very soon. I think the star of the whole thing was the resignation plans for Dr. Stella, and well, we all know he reported it on himself, and so there's not much else I can say about that. The other thing, also with the Recreation Commission, they have had no meeting since their last meeting, and I believe it's the holiday as well. But I just wanted to reiterate what I was getting in in that last meeting, which I might have already reported. They wanted, the Board of Selectmen to decide about the pool as soon as possible, but we discussed that and we're going to move forward on it. I feel that they have a lot of frustration about the fact that they have some needs and wants, and they're all working very hard to, help the pool out for the sake of the town, and they just get frustrated about not getting some of their wants and needs when they want it. Which
That's
is,
life.
I was gonna say, that's life,
That's life.
right.
Okay, anything else, Maria?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So before we adjourn, Maria has requested to bring up another item on the agenda. We need a 2/3 vote, but if there's no objection, seeing no objection, Maria, would you like to?
Well, I wanted to request getting at least the selectmen of the town email addresses. And I guess from my own point of view, I share my email address with my husband. And between all the organizations that we belong to, it's like we just are overwhelmed by emails. And then in October, it was hacked. And so it was an awful event. Now, I asked around because I was in a meeting of the small municipal cities for newly elected
Council of
officials.
Small Towns.
Yeah. And the first item that they talk about is FOI and all that kind of stuff. And the guy told me, because my purpose is really to get a sort of like a different level of security with regards to email. He said that this is not an unreasonable thing, and he highly recommends it. So when I see when you see that address, it's clearly a town matter, and I think it's more protection for individuals.
Mhm.
I mean, of course, when you're no longer an elected official, that disappears.
So I know that our policy has been that only town employees have town email addresses. I don't know that they're any more secure than private. I'm sure if you've been hacked, perhaps you've looked into that. And of course
They said
yeah.
but this thing gives us, individuals a sort of a higher level of, security.
I'm not aware of that, but anyway, that's been our policy, and any other comments about this? Anyone?
I'm not sure where you draw the line, number one. I mean, does it then involve the Board of Finance, it seems to me the town employees operate as sort of a discrete organization, if you will. I don't think I'm comfortable with it.
Would we have to amend the policy to do this?
I already have 3 email addresses, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't want a 4th one.
I don't want
No,
another
and I'm
one
sure,
either.
Maria, you understand, you can create an email address that you only use on town-related matters on
You
your
can
own.
be Maria Kayne BOS
You
at
can
gmail.com.
you can have,
Oh, okay.
your own.
For free.
Yeah, I
For
just
free.
thought
And then it's discreet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I would be a little concerned about the first of all, I'd be concerned about Susan, why, if the Board of Selectmen has it, I think the Board of Finance would have a legitimate argument, conservation, everybody going
Well-
right down the line. But more importantly, I'd be concerned about the official capacity, the transacting business in a way that maybe binds the town in some things, then that's remote and unlikely, but it is an issue out there, and that's why I think if it's limited to town employees, the town is responsible for the employees. So I think legally, I think it would be a mistake to extend that to other non-employed
No,
individuals.
I see, but I just thought, since this FOI specialist who writes about books on FOI and information, all that kind of stuff, that he said he highly recommends it.
Well, I had a talk with him, because I
What's
saw.
his name?
I forget his name, but I called him because I saw your email, I think, and we can talk
Okay.
afterward. I don't think he understood exactly what you were saying, so I think after I discussed it with him, I think he might have had a different opinion.
Well, in any
Might.
event,
Yeah.
in any event, if you weren't aware of that you can create multiple emails at home, you don't have to share them with your husband.
Okay.
You can create your own.
Having said that, I would still, as individuals, I would still be careful in calling it a town of Woodbridge
Right.
Yes.
email. I
Email.
mean,
Yeah,
you
sure.
certainly
Yeah,
have to
okay, yeah.
label it so that
Right,
it's
right.
clear that it's your individual email.
All right,
I would think.
all right.
Okay, anything else on that? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All those in
always-
favor?
It was a-
Thank you, everyone. We got through